Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to crank it up, though, as we always do on a Thursday, with our good friend Brent Beaird, talking a little college football. He's our college football analyst. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Shane, good morning. Always great to be on with you. I tell you what, it's one of my favorite times of year with the college basketball tournaments beginning and also spring practice. We've almost got a team or two or three beginning every week coming up in the next few weeks, and obviously other off-the-field stuff going on. So, and it's warming up, and it's a fun time to be talking ball.
It really is. Brent, before we jump into college football, obviously Gators tip off today in the second game. You never really know when it's going to start due to the first game. In your mind, I know you follow a little bit of college basketball. Gators are secure being in the NCAA tournament. How many games do you think they need to win in the SEC tournament to increase their seed?
I think probably especially if you're playing today on Thursday, I mean, realistically, it would be a feat to be able to get to Sunday. I would say probably if they could win a couple of games to get to Saturday, I think would be important for them if they could do it. Now, look, as you said, and we need to make sure folks are clear about this. They are in the tournament. There's no doubt about that. It just depends on what their seeding is. And again, Shane, as we've talked about, we've seen a lot of Florida either 8 or 9. They would be much better off if they could be a 10 seed. This could sound funny, but it's almost better off if you're a 10 seed or a 7 seed. In other words, you get off that 8-9, Shane, and you miss that number 1 seed, right?
Yeah, there's no question about that. So, Brent, as of right now with conference tournaments, they started yesterday, but they really get into full force today on Thursday. I know you kind of got a bracket in your mind, filled out. Who you think is going to win the national title? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'll go two ways. I think for the SEC, I think Bama and Arkansas probably are the two best teams, and will end up playing possibly on Sunday. Although Bama plays Kentucky, that's going to be a very dangerous game for them. I tell you, Shane, as far as looking at it nationally, I mean, you could certainly say Gonzaga is playing out of their mind. I mean, they've got quite a streak going with double-digit wins. I mean, Baylor is in there also, but Illinois is playing really well, as is Ohio State and Michigan. So I guess it'd be easy to say chalk right now and say Gonzaga, but at this point, I think that's part of the fun, really, of this tournament is that we really don't know where this thing might go. I think the SEC will get 6 teams. Florida, LSU, obviously. We mentioned Arkansas, Alabama. I think Tennessee will go. If a team like Ole Miss had a run, they may get in there too, but 6 would be pretty good. Shane, you remember when it used to be Florida, Kentucky, and that was it? 6 teams in this conference would be quite an improvement, would it not?
It really would be. Brent, you live over in Jacksonville. It's got to be a little buzz around town with TPC kicking off today. How many fans are they allowing out there? I know they're allowing fans, but have they said how many?
I'm trying to think if it's I think it's somewhere. I know this is a wide range, but it's somewhere I think between like 25% and 50, something like that. But I mean, look, the weather is supposed to be ideal, and folks who are going, I know will enjoy that. But at this point, it's just an achievement to get it in. It's what it amounts to. So I think folks are very optimistic about that this can be a really good week here.
Yes, no doubt about it. It's one of my favorite tournaments. All right, Brent, college football, that's your specialty. The NCAA has been talking about this one-time transfer rule. Where do we stand on it?
Well, and Shane, we've talked about this for weeks, haven't we, that it was coming, and it is. The NCAA is moving forward with the one-time transfer. The Division I Council will vote on a waiver to allow one-time transfer for the upcoming year at their April meeting after the Final Four. So Final Four is the first week of April, so they will have their meeting with their and the NCAA is like a lot of big entities that it has certain groups, councils that meet and they vote. So that's what we've got. That's going on here. What I'm going to be interested to see are what are the parameters that go along with this. We don't know that yet, but I think that's why probably, Shane, behind the scenes, a lot of these coaches have told some of these guys, let's wait till the rule comes out, and then we can deal with your situation. And see, another thing here, and we'll use a guy like Henry To'oto'o from Tennessee. He is probably going to transfer to Alabama. And what he's been told is wait until the ruling comes in. And then, Shane, the other part of that is it's not just the national thing. As you know, it's the conference situation, too. So, and again, if you get a waiver from the NCAA, you would normally think that you would get it also from the SEC. But, Shane, hadn't we seen where the conference has refused, right? I know we've seen that in the past. So that's one thing that it's not just nationally, but it's also within the region of conference.
Yeah, sometimes I don't understand what the NCAA is doing. Tom Allen in Indiana got a new contract extension.
I'm curious what you think of him. I've been impressed with what he's done. They were down here a couple of years ago playing Tennessee in the Tax Slayer Bowl, $4.9 million. Shane, did you see also this is the largest contract that Indiana Athletics has ever handed out?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me because you think about them being a basketball school, but obviously back in the day they weren't paying guys. But it just goes to show you I got the little SEC in my background today, and it says it just means more. It goes to show you what really means the most in the SEC. It's coaches and winning games, because this guy's only making 4.9. I mean, I don't know if anybody in the SEC is making that kind of money, that amount of money. Maybe Vanderbilt's coach. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, look, that's a great point because I mean, even the last place coach in each division is probably making more than that. But in the same time, he's done a really nice job. Now is he Nick Saban or someone of that ilk? No. But at the same time, Allen has. He has gone in there. He's kind of solidified that program, hadn't he, Shane? And look, if you play Indiana right now, you've got your hands full. That is no easy win as it used to be.
No, you're exactly right. Eli Manning is going to host a little TV show like his brother Peyton. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's on ESPN Plus. It's called Eli's Places. We don't know a lot about this right now, but my goodness, Shane, he could just have the family on there. Yeah, and it would be pretty impressive. So it would be interesting to see kind of what happens with this. I would think Peyton would be helping him along that line too. I'm sure his dad will. And look, I know he probably can't have him on the air, but Archie's grandson, Arch, is one of the bigger quarterback prospects in the nation. So this is another kid that we'll have to be watching after over the next few years. But, yeah, that'll be kind of fun to see what they do with that show.
Yeah, the Manning family, they're good people, and I'm sure it will be a great show. Eli's pretty funny himself. I know his brother Cooper is extremely funny. We talked last week, Brent, about where Alabama had talked about they're going to have a full stadium. It's kind of it's leaked over a little bit into the Big 12. They're talking about having full stadiums now, right?
They are, and you're beginning to hear more of this all the time. As a matter of fact, this is almost becoming commonplace every week now. I know Greg Byrne of Alabama's mentioned it. Ross Bork of Texas A&M has said the same thing. Now we get one of the commissioners, and Bob Bowlesby, who's come out. What he said when his quote is that it's not unreasonable to expect full football stadiums in 2021. Now, Shane, I think this is a couple things. I think one is they want to ease some of the fears of the fans. And two, let's be honest, they're trying to sell tickets, aren't they, Shane? So if they come out and say we're expecting a full stadium, that may get the fans to thinking, well, if they've got that kind of confidence that we can play, maybe then I need to reorder my tickets for this coming year. So I think that's what a lot of that's about. And again, I think the thing we've got to remember is between herd immunity and also the vaccine, that we're still, Shane, 6 months away easily from the season beginning. So I can see them having more confidence than they certainly had a few weeks ago.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR Hotline, you can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Brent, we've talked a lot of transfer portal. There's one kid that we haven't talked about because he's leaving Clemson. Darion Kendrick started a bunch of games for the Tigers in the secondary. Where's he going to end up going?
We don't know at this point, but that's a really good question. Georgia is a possibility. I've seen Florida mentioned a little bit with that too, Alabama, and also Texas and TCU or other programs that have expressed interest in him. 5-star prospect coming out of high school, number 26 player in the country in that early on. So he is well thought of, frankly, and what looks to be a really good player. So with all that going, Shane, you can certainly see why it would be drawing interest from all kinds of schools, and especially I think in the secondary in his position, but makes him more attractive too.
Yeah, he's a good player, and we'll see where he ends up. All right, let's talk in the SEC. Let's start with Alabama, your defending national champs. What's the news coming out of there?
I think at this point, Bama's like a lot of schools that they're on the verge of beginning practice. Also, Al Cahoe, the linebacker, said he's transferring to UCLA. He originally committed to Utah. They've got more analysts going on now. David Huxtable, North Carolina State defensive coordinator, Ron Cooper, formerly of Louisville, Will Lawing, Houston Texans. Those are some of the guys who Nick Saban has hired as analysts. Shane, would you have ever believed the analyst position would have ever grown as popular as it is now?
No, it's crazy. And who started it? It was Nick Saban. So everybody started adding them to their staff after what Alabama did. But it's crazy having all these analysts. Hey, Brent, when you look at Arkansas, they lose Felipe Franks. Who's pretty much set to step in at the QB position?
They're beginning to get things going now, too, and have. I think that's something at this point that they're looking at either KJ Jefferson or Malik Hornsby, according to Sam Pittman. So still really up in the air for them. I still thought they made, I know that they didn't win a lot of games, but I thought they made as much progress last year as about anybody did. And I give Felipe a lot of credit. He did a pretty good job for them in his last year. So that's going to be interesting to see. Pittman, as you know, was the offensive line coach at Georgia before making the move. So they're going to be, I think, eventually very good on the offensive line. But right now, Jefferson or Hornsby, the two guys that they are looking at.
Brent, I meant to ask you before we started going around the league, the Les Miles deal is a mess. Just got fired by Kansas. What do you think is going to come out of that?
I'll tell you what, that at this point, I don't know if I'll be honest with you. I've talked to several people about this. As far as coaching is concerned, Les's career right now probably is over, unless somehow he could get an analyst job and reinvent himself somewhere. I really do wonder if some of those Kansas administrators may end up losing their job because they didn't vet him a little closer. But at the same time, and look, I'm not an attorney, but this agreement that they had really only saw the light of day only over the last few days. So, and again, the question is for Kansas, who replaces Miles? Jeff Monken's name's been mentioned, Lance Leopold at Buffalo, Willie Fritz, who's done a really good job at Tulane, among others. And frankly, if Miles had kept that job and stayed there, he could have probably retired in that situation. Shane, as you know, they don't have a lot of facilities. It's not a great place to go, but it's still a Power 5 job, and people will want the job because of that.
Yeah, you mentioned Jeff Monken, who's at Army. Kind of intrigues me for Kansas because I feel like I kind of put Kansas in the same categories I put Vanderbilt. You ain't ever going to win the conference championship, but what can you do different than everybody else to make games interesting? I thought Hal Mummy did that at Kentucky, because they threw it 80 times a game. And I feel like Kansas could cause some problems in that league if they came in and ran the wishbone.
Well, it's funny you said that because when you're in a situation like Kansas, there's no doubt you've got to be unique and you've got to be a tough out for other teams. I'm not saying that they're going to bring Paul Johnson out of retirement necessarily, who was at Georgia Tech and ran the wishbone. But I think you've really got to give teams a reason to pause because right now Kansas is not going to out-recruit anybody. People forget, but Mark Mangino did a pretty good job there. Yeah. And at one point, Shane really kind of had them going. So yes, whoever that hire is going to be. And again, my question to you too, Shane, and I don't know the answer to this, is when you're trying to find a coach in March, that's not easy to do, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know what they're going to do. They may just have an interim guy this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Brent, what are you hearing going on in the Gator camp? I know they had a scrimmage the other night. I didn't get to go, but you got any good news for us there?
wasn't a whole lot that what was said about it. I am intrigued what Dan Mullen has said about Emory Jones, that there's a lot of throws that Emory can make that Kyle could not. I'm certainly interested in your take on that. But I think my question to that is, I'm sure that he has a good arm, and the players and coaches have said the kid's got a strong arm. My question, Shane, is, I know he can make the throws. Can he make the right throws? And that's what I'm looking at. Going to be fascinating to see where that one goes. I think one of the guys that they've talked a lot about that they're really, really impressed is early enrollee Donovan McMillan. I'm curious what you've heard about him. But this is a kid in the secondary who they think is going to be able to help them. He's from Pennsylvania. I know that at 6'2", almost 200 on the latest roster, he's made some plays as of late that's really been impressive. So, and by the way, they've added some depth at recruiting. 3-star 2022 quarterback Nick Evers. We don't know a lot about him right now. 6'3", 190, but Louisville, Auburn, Boise State were all involved with that. So, Shane, I guess if you got that kind of interest from schools of that nature, the kids certainly can add some depth, if nothing else.
Yeah, there's no question. I want to ask you about South Carolina, Brent. We didn't talk much about them last week. And I don't even know who their offensive coordinator is. You'll have to refresh my memory. But I'm curious what Shane Beamer, what kind of offense is he going to run? Is he going to try to run a version of the air raid, what he had out at Oklahoma?
I think that may be the thing that you see with them. Now, the quarterbacks right now are Luke Doty, who played some last year, Jason Brown, and Colton Gaither. And it really kind of looks like right now that Doty is probably going to be the starter. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but I'm just going to say he's probably the favorite simply because he's got more experience, I think, as much as anything else. Now look, Doty is a really good athlete. He's played some different positions, so that's going to be very interesting to see kind of where that goes. Jason Brown is a transfer from St. Francis, Pennsylvania. He won a lot of awards and got a lot of attention when he was there. Gaither is a 3-star kid in 2021, early enrollee, could get involved a little bit with that too. But look, the problem with Will, and this is no surprise to any of your listeners, is offense. And I think your point's a good one. Look, if they could go in and bring some excitement on offense, find them a quarterback, get them some playmakers. Shane, if they could just establish more of an identity on that side of the ball, I think that would help Beamer tremendously this year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's no question. The Tennessee Vols, Brent. We talked on here the last month or so about how they hired Kevin Steele, who great defensive mind, how he could help their program, former volunteer player himself. They just terminated his contract. He made $860,000 in about 3 months. That just blows my mind.
Well, it blows a lot of people's mind. And look, my understanding is, and this may have changed over the last few days, is now he's not going to be on Josh Heupel's staff, but somehow, some way, he's still got an office in Tennessee. So I don't know what he's doing either. But I mean, look, we're talking about a guy that basically, because of Shane, 3 weeks made $860,000, which is basically $1 million. So look, if you can, Shane, if we could all get jobs like that, it'd be wonderful, would it not?
There's no question.
But I'm really curious. I mean, Steele's only in his early 60s, and look, I know that they had the controversy at Auburn in that still wanted that job. Allegedly, he got with some of the big Auburn money boosters to try to get him that job, and going against Gus Malzahn. I don't know how much that's going to hurt him. I mean, obviously it will, but at the same time, as good of a DC as he is, Shane, would it surprise you if he gets a job in the next year or two with what he's done on the field?
Yeah, I think he's outstanding. I think he's one of the best defense coordinators in the country, and good for him making that kind of money in 3 weeks. Hey, Brent, before we let you go, we don't really talk ACC very much on this show, but I'm curious what you're hearing out of Tallahassee at the quarterback position. Do you think Mackenzie Milton actually has a chance to be their guy?
Yes. Yeah, I really do. And that's certainly what I'm hearing is now again, Mackenzie Milton threw for 9,000 yards at Central Florida. Which, Shane, I don't care who you are and where you play, that says something, doesn't it? So, look, if he's 80% of what he was at UCF, I mean, that would still be rather impressive. Now, they have still got Jordan Travis, Chubba Purdy, and Tate Rodemaker. So they've got a pretty good quarterback room. Now, I know the coaches loved Jordan Travis last year, but he was hurt. Chubba Purdy was too. So I think they're in as good a position right now at quarterback as they have been in a while. But I can tell you, if Milton can play as we think he possibly can, if they get any kind of an offensive line, that offense could be miles ahead of where it was last year.
Yeah, I agree with that. You got any nuggets for us?
One thing that I also wanted to mention was who's going to be the quarterback at Tennessee. Some of the names, Hendon Hooker, if that's familiar, he's a transfer from Virginia Tech. Brian Marr, who you remember you and I watched in the Swamp when he came into that game a couple of years ago when they looked so bad. Caden Salter, and the guy that the fans really want is Harrison Bailey. I don't know if you saw enough out of him last year to make any difference. So that's kind of their quarterback battle right now as far as what they may do. At Missouri, their defensive line took a hit to their depth when defensive lineman Travion Ford suffered an injury. Now, Missouri's already started spring, so they are in the mix right now with that too. Now, again, on the field for LSU, we know they're still going on with the Title IX investigation, but I think the question's going to be where you and I are interested very much is Miles Brennan, Max Johnson, TJ Finley. That's a pretty good trio of quarterbacks. And I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but I know you and I are both impressed with Johnson in what he did. But the coaches there would tell you, Shane, that Miles Brennan, before he got hurt, was frankly the starting quarterback. So that will be a very interesting battle. Georgia basically is about to crank it up too. They've got a lot of guys like Nolan Smith on defense that they want to have to step up, like Quay Walker on that side of the ball. They've really got to do something about their cornerback situation. Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, DJ Daniel are all out at this point, so they're having to replace them also. So, but Shane, that's that's a fun thing in it, brother, about the next few weeks. Besides hoops, a lot of these camps are going to be opening up sometimes 2 or 3 schools at a time every week.
Yes, indeed. It's a great time, and we appreciate you taking the time, Brent, for joining our show each and every week, bringing great knowledge of college sports to our show. Be safe out there, my man. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the TPC.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Can't wait.
Yep, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan Moore Hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. You can reach him and follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Going to take our first time out of the program. We come back. We're going to be joined by John Barli from Catholic Charities and also Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com, breaking down Gators basketball when they're tipping off today. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Dave & Buster's, Nike, Sushi Hana, Uzzoline Day Spa, and coming June of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. And we're going to be joined by John Barli from Catholic Charities here in the Gainesville area. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Can't complain. John, we wanted to bring you on because you do a lot of great work here in the area, but we want to talk about this golf tournament that y'all are going to have your first one ever. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Shane, we're going to have, like you said, the first golf tournament that we've ever done before. We've always done our fundraising events indoors, and obviously with COVID, that's going to make it a little bit difficult this year. So we're having a golf tournament at the Mark Bostic golf course at the University of Florida coming up April 17th. It's going to be 8 o'clock in the morning. It should be a great time. The weather should be perfect, and the golf course is great from what I understand. We're doing it all to raise money for the charity and for the programs that we do here at Catholic Charities.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about the golf tournament in a second. But first, so how has COVID really impacted the Catholic Charities? And did y'all have to make a lot of changes when all this went about?
Well, Shane, we didn't have to make a lot of changes. What it basically did was it took everything we did and it increased it 100-fold. We just had people that needed help with their rent, with their utilities. We've got people whose power got shut off by the utility companies because they couldn't pay their utility bills. We still got folks who are out of work, who are gone back to work but aren't working the number of hours that they were before. All that federal money that's coming down the pike takes a long time to get. And so we're here in the short term to be able to help people out, keep their utilities on and keep them from getting evicted and keeping a roof over their head. So that's the biggest change it's been for us. We just need a lot more funds to be able to do the work that we're doing for the folks that need help in our community.
So if we have someone watching our program or someone that they know that needs some help, what's the process? Do they just go to y'all's website or what do they have to do?
They can go to our website and they can get the information there. They can give us a call here at the office and we can put them in touch with where they need to be. They can send us an email or they can come by, basically depending on what they've got the availability for. But these are your friends and your neighbors, and if you know somebody who's in need, get in touch with us and let us know. We'll reach out to them, see what we can do to help them out.
We're speaking with John Barli here on the Titan More Hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. He's the regional director of Catholic Charities. What all the counties are you responsible for?
Well, we, along with Alachua, primarily Gainesville, but we also do Bradford, Dixie, Gilchrist, and Levy counties as well. And those folks out there in the rural areas, they really are the ones who have been impacted by this. And they don't have the resources that the people in Gainesville do to go out and get some assistance. So we're out there. We take care of as many people as we can in the rural areas as well.
And so once again, about the golf tournament, give us the time. We're going to put it all up on our Facebook Live pages and all that stuff. The website where people, if they want to participate, where they need to go.
They need to go to CatholicCharitiesGainesville.org. Everything is right on there. They can register right online. It gives them the sponsorship opportunities, even if you can't. If you're busy that day or you're going to be out of town and you're not going to be able to golf, we've got sponsorship opportunities available, hole-in-one signs, that kind of thing. But CatholicCharitiesGainesville.org, it's got all the information up there. Shane, I appreciate you sharing it on your podcast as well. And come on out. It's going to be a great time. And all the money raised stays right here in our community. Nothing goes outside. So it's all for a great cause.
Yep. So if they're, for whatever reason, they don't want to help out the golf tournament, there's other ways that they can make donations as well, right?
Donations can be made. If you're not interested in golf and you're not, you don't want to necessarily sponsor the golf tournament, donations can be made also. CatholicCharitiesGainesville.org. Go right on there. It's really simple to do. We can take donations all the time. The need is there. It's not going away. So be generous. We appreciate it.
Well, John, we appreciate you taking the time to let us know about this first annual golf tournament. You're having it at the best course in town, so that should be a lot of fun. And we'll get you back on before that thing cranks up. And we appreciate you taking the time to join the program today.
Shane, we appreciate you as well. Just give me a call. Let me know. I'll be happy to be here.
All right. That's John Barli. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. He is the regional director of Catholic Charities in our area. Thanks, John. We're gonna switch gears now. We're gonna talk Gator basketball with FloridaGators.com, Chris Harry. We're now joined by Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com, senior writer, does a tremendous job. Looks like he's still asleep this morning. Today, Gators cranking up, first round tournament game, SEC. Obviously, you're not going to be there. They have limited capacity of fans going. Let's go back to the last game, the Tennessee game. I guess you could say a lot was on the line, Chris. It was for a double bye. Played really well in the first half. Second half, not so much. What did you see?
15 minutes of good basketball, and then just, I'd say 25 minutes of just really having the action taken to them. Tennessee was more bouncy. They were more active. They were certainly more aggressive, especially on the glass. I mean, it ended up being 18-9 on offensive rebounds. I point to a possession. I think it was before the 4 minute mark of the second half. Tennessee had one possession where they took 5 shots and got 4 offensive rebounds.
I remember that.
And at that point, because they went to a media timeout, Mike White called a timeout, I think, because the Yves Pons, who's the 2020 Defensive Player of the Year, at that point, he had 7 rebounds in the second half alone, and 6 of them were on the offensive end. I mean, that is just that's one guy playing harder than 5 guys. Mm-hmm. And there's just, there's no excuse for that. That was the tenor of practice, and that was the tenor of the message, obviously, post game. 18-9 on the offensive glass, bunch of second chance opportunities. And I think something that probably went maybe a little, not necessarily unspoken because Mike White brought it up. I mean, the week before, Trey Mann was SEC Player of the Week. And one of the reasons he was SEC Player of the Week, Shane, he had 21 rebounds in 2 games. He had 13 against Auburn on the road. So to have a guard being able to rebound down like that means he's actually hitting guys, boxing out, doing stuff, and he's grabbing rebounds. They obviously missed his scoring punch, but they certainly on the other end missed his ability and willingness to go to the glass. And when they take the court today in the SEC tournament, Trey Mann is expected to play, having missed that last game due to a migraine.
Well, the Gators need Trey Mann if they want to make any kind of run here. How many games do you think, Chris, do the Gators need to win? I want to say right now, I haven't looked at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, but most people say right now with the loss to Tennessee, maybe an 8 or 9 seed.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What do they – I mean, gosh, you don't want to be there. So we need to win a couple games or we need to lose some games to drop to like a 10 seed. What do you think they need to do?
You just know because of the creativity of those people at the selection committee that Florida's going to be in Gonzaga's side. And if Gonzaga's going to be a 1, you know it's going to be Andrew Nemhard will be playing against the Gators.
You're good point.
I mean, they look for stuff like that all the time. They look for stuff all the time, and that I have no doubt that would happen. But to your other point, I always think that when you're this late in the season and you're like where Florida is, 8 or 9, I think every win after your first tournament win is worth a line. And that's not to say if Florida wins a tournament, they jump to a 3 seed or something like it. But I'm just saying they can make some hay. Obviously, I don't know how high could Florida get. If Florida won the SEC tournament, could they be a 6 seed? Maybe. Yes, I think so, because their schedule would reflect a bunch of quadrant 1 wins by them, because they'd have to beat Tennessee, that'd be quadrant 1. They'd have to beat whoever, LSU or excuse me, they have to beat Arkansas, I guess would be the other team, Arkansas or Alabama. Can Florida win the SEC? I don't know. I don't know how if they have the manpower to do it, but to get out of that 8-9 situation, I think they got to win 2 games.
Yeah. When you look at this season, obviously, agree or disagree with me, the biggest issue with the basketball team has been turnovers. Yeah. We can say what we want to say about being physical basketball team or whatever, but at times we've made a bunch of shots. We've been very creative. We kind of got up and down the court. But when you look at the big picture, it's turnovers. When you're turning it over 18, 20 times a game, it's hard to beat anybody. Would you say that's been the biggest issue all year long?
Yes, and actually defense, man-to-man defense, because you can take 2 of those things. You take those things independently. In the Missouri game, obviously turnovers were the decisive factor. They turned over 15 times in the first half alone. That dug themselves a 10-point hole. But at the same time, they come back and they tie the game, and it was a straight line drive. Drew Smith getting to the baseline, beating Trey Mann off the ball. That ended up, deciding the game. How many times did South Carolina just dribble, boom, attack the basket and score? Their metrics show them, I want to say, around 30 in the top 40 defense. In big possessions, they don't play like a top 40 defense. And even so, top 40 is not good enough. Mike White's a defensive. He was a really, really excellent defensive player as a player. And, in a perfect world, they would be way, way much better defensively than they have been. And also the ability to grab rebounds. And I spoke to what Trey Mann's meant on that front. But a guy like Colin Castleton, he's got to have more than 5 in a game at Tennessee. Scotty Lewis, I think we've talked about this. He's had trouble staying on the court because of foul trouble. Mm-hmm. At one point, I think this season, I think I made the point to you, he had in Florida's SEC losses, he had 9 points and 14 fouls at one point. And when they had at the point where they were at 4 or 5 losses, I believe. I mean, the other day he wasn't in foul trouble. He played 35 minutes and I think he had 2 or 3 rebounds. He's more than that. I mean, he's better than that. He knows that. But for whatever this is the team that they are. They're a team that shows little spurts, whether it be in on the court for little mini runs or for mini winning streaks, and then has the ability to step backwards by whatever it is, losing focus, playing soft, playing, Mike White says, immaturely at times, getting caught up in what the officials are doing, how the game's being called. Those kind of things have reared themselves, and it's been a disappointment at times. But again, postseason's about fresh starts, and they have a chance to do something about it starting today.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. March is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane to receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes here with Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. You can follow his stuff on Twitter at GatorsChris. We spoke of Trey Mann. Trey Mann was first team All-SEC. Castleton was second team. Mm-hmm. Do you think Trey Mann, I don't know, I never saw the voting or anything, but do you think he was close to winning Player of the Year?
I wouldn't think so, no.
No? Okay.
No.
I mean, some of the so-called people you hear about it on TV.
Either one of those Alabama guys or Moses Moody should have won Player of the Year.
Well, I forgot. Well, the Alabama guy did.
Right. Right.
But I forgot about Moses Moody. He's a very good player.
Yeah, he's terrific. And I just think Herb Jones, you look at his stats, I don't think they were overwhelming. I want to say he was around 10.5, 11 points a game, maybe about 5 rebounds. I think he had a couple steals a game. What his stats reminded me a lot of Chandler Parsons the year he won the SEC Player of the Year back in 2011 on a team that also won the SEC championship. A guy who did a bunch of everything, maybe not anything great, but did a bunch of everything really, really well and helped his team to the ultimate goal, which is, of course, to win the league championship. So he deserved that. I mean, I guess Petty. Cam Thomas certainly was a guy who warranted some votes, leading the league in scoring and playing like what. I mean, he was freshman of the year, but in terms of Moses Moody could have been there too. Wow, what a story! They've been 11 straight wins for Arkansas in the Southeastern Conference, and they're a team I would imagine not a lot of teams are going to want to play come postseason.
Yeah. Looking at the big national picture, Chris, before we let you go, pretty much all the conference tournaments crank up today on Thursday. First of all, I want you to, I don't know if you're allowed, but who do you think wins the SEC tournament? And then I want you to look to next week or, a couple of weeks from now. Who do you think cuts down the nets and wins the big dance?
Well, I think I said I don't know if it was on this show. I said just it's Gonzaga's playing head and shoulders over everybody. I agree. I know they had themselves a game the other night, and they obviously needed it. I think Mark Few talked about that. They playing in the league they're playing in. They really hadn't been tested, and frankly, they played one of the hardest non-conference schedules in the country, and they weren't tested very hard in that one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Tennessee. It might have been Tennessee who gave them some team in the SEC. And for some reason, I think it might have been Tennessee gave them an 8 or 10 point game. I think or earlier in the year. Maybe it wasn't Tennessee, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking out for some reason. But jumping to that, they're playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. Now, again, that when it comes a time where it's a one possession game and there's inside a minute to go, if that happens with them, it's kind of like when remember how good UNLV was that year? They weren't tested the whole season long and stuff, and then they played a good team, high stakes, and things start going through guys' heads. So to answer your question. I don't know that if I would put money on Gonzaga against the field, but I mean that's I think an easy call on that as far as the Southeastern Conference tournament. What you think Kentucky can win it?
No, I don't think Kentucky. I think it's amazing to me. I don't think Duke's going to make the tournament either unless they make a deep run. Do you think they have to win the ACC tournament to make it?
I think they got to win a couple games. Duke has to make it to make the tournament. I don't think just winning their first game is going to help them. But I ask about Kentucky. I mean, I don't think Kentucky. I don't think they're just magically all of a sudden going to get better. I know they played well. Their last game against South Carolina, won by however many it was, 25 or 30 points. But it's an Alabama Arkansas horse race. I mean, I think that'll be an excellent game if those two teams are in the final on Sunday. But they've both played great all year. Although I tell you what, how about if I give you a dark horse? I'll give you Missouri. Did you know? I
like Missouri too. I like them.
I mean, they're old. Shane, do you know that they're the oldest team, second oldest team among the power conferences? Only Georgia Tech has players that that have played more basketball games than they have over the course of the year. They got some transfers. Drew Smith is an excellent player. They had inside, outside, and when they're shooting the ball well, they're really, really good. And for people that thought that was a bad loss for Florida, remember they beat Alabama this year. They beat Arkansas on the road. They beat Illinois earlier in the season. They beat Oregon in the season. They can beat anybody if they play well. But something we could say about a lot of these teams can beat a lot of teams, of course, and Florida is a team that can lose to a lot of teams. Missouri is a team that can beat just about any team they play if they're on their game. Yeah. And relative to the Gators, I just can't help but this time of year think about what could have been if Keontae Johnson had been able to play. Can't go the last podcast before the SEC tournament without at least thinking about that.
Yeah, there's no question. It would have been a very interesting year.
That's right.
Losing him definitely hurt, but we're glad he's doing well. Chris, we appreciate you taking time to join us today. Enjoy the week. Hopefully the Gators make a little run here, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, Shane. Take care. Enjoy March Madness.
That's Chris Harry. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the program, come back, and wrap up this Thursday edition.
Hey, Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Route Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TV Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. Center State Bank, member FDIC. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining the program. Also, John Barli from Catholic Charities does a tremendous job here. And also Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Gators crank it up here in a few hours. We wish them a lot of luck. Hopefully they can make a little run here in the SEC tournament in Nashville. It's a good time of the year. TPC is underway as well. Oh, don't forget, our winner of the G-Tech Sport Survival Kit for this week is Fred Williams. So they'll make sure that he gets his prize pack. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Route Spot. Be safe out there, folks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then.